Good afternoon, everybody. Uneducated Economist here. So I would like to thank the John Burns Real Estate Consulting Group. They invited me into a roundtable discussion for lumber supply chain. There was four of us on the panel, and it was I don't know. The talk was maybe about 30 minutes or so. It was very quick, very quick responses to the questions. And I was before we did the talk, you know, we were they asked us, hey, if you could keep it down to around a minute. So I responded to these things with short and sweet answers. And I think about it when I went back and watched the videos, it's like, man, I really should have elaborated a lot deeper into some of these questions. So anyway, I thought I would do that for you guys right now and come back out and make a video and give you the responses that I would have had if I didn't have a time constraint on them. So this was one of the first questions. Actually, this was the first question that they asked me. It was, what are some of the interesting and crazy things that you are seeing in the world regarding supply chain constraints or pain? War story, something really memorable. And now, what I have experienced last year compared to this year was something very interesting. Last year, I had a heck of a time selling deck packages. The pressure-treated lumber was just unavailable. 4x4, 8-foot was almost like non-existent to be had. And it was the same for many stores throughout the area. I remember when one of the stores ran out, and it was like all of a sudden, boom, boom, boom. It was like 6-7 customers in a row came in, and we were out of 4x4s as well. Then the supplier was consistently out of them, like all the time. And it was months before I was able to finally get a steady supply of the lumber to start coming in. And this was all treated stuff. So by the end of summer, many of my customers who had planned to do a deck package that year postponed it. They just said, okay, well, we're going to have to do it this winter or do it another time or whatever. But obviously, since you can't get the material this summer, we're going to just postpone the project for now. So I missed out on a lot of deck packages that I could have sold last year. This year, I have something very similar happen, but not in the sense that I can't get the material, is that I am having customers postpone their projects because the lumber is just too expensive. They come in and they see the price of a 4x4 and they're thinking, man, that's 3 times what it was last year. They postpone their projects. And so I'm starting to get a lot more of that taking place right now. And it's more and more that I'm finding that customers are just straight up just waiting. They're not even asking anymore about what the price is. They're just going to wait to hear when the prices have come down again. So they have just completely stepped away from the projects altogether. Now, the next question, what are people asking in the comments or emails of my YouTube channel? Now, you guys know, if you go down and read the comment section of my videos, I have a broad base of viewers. And to think what is the main question that everybody is asking? People ask all kinds of stuff. That's what we do here, is talk about economics. And so there's a lot to discuss. But what it comes down to is people have 2 questions here. They want to know when the housing market is going to cool off, and they want to know why the lumber prices are so high. And people will not accept a singular answer. They want to put it on a singular answer, like it's inflation, or it's the mill's greed, or it's, Wall Street speculation, in the futures market or something. I have a tendency to believe that it's probably more into the Wall Street speculation, but I can't really prove that, and I really don't know. So as time goes on, we're going to find out a lot more about what's causing these lumber prices to be as high as they are, but unfortunately, they are incredibly high. Even though there's talk of shortage out there, it's shortage of transportation that may be affecting this more than actual shortage of material, because as far as I can see, there is no problem getting material. You're going to pay for it, but you can get it. Last year, I couldn't get it even if I asked. No matter what, I paid double. It don't matter. We don't have it to sell you. This year, they have it at a cost. Okay, what was the next question? Knowing the supply coordination issues will persist in the near term, what should building products companies and builders do to continue producing homes? Now, this is ultimately when it comes down to communication. You have to be in communication with your builder, like the person that your customer that you were providing materials to, and the builder has to be in communication with the supplier. The supplier at one time had easy access to everything. You could give them like, hey, I need my windows in 2 weeks, no problem, right? 2 weeks later, the windows show up. Now you have to tell your supplier that you need your windows 6 weeks before you need them. And a lot of times you haven't even started framing yet. So there is a definite change in the way or the strategy in which that you need to place your orders with your building supply company in order to make sure that you have that steady flow of materials coming to the job site, because that is ultimately the whole point of a building supply and the builder working together, is that you can keep that steady flow of materials going to the job site. Both the builder wants that and the supplier wants that. So communication, that's ultimately what it's going to be. When a builder figures out from a vendor that they're going to be in short supply of a particular item, it's the builder supplier's job to make sure that their customers know that, hey, coming into the future, we're going to have issues with, tight knot cedar 2x6 decking. You might want to tell your customers coming in that might not be the best option, or to be ready to deal with, hard to find or maybe lengths that are not desirable. Those are the type of things that you have to be in communication with. Let's see here. Let's move on. What isn't being talked about right now that should be? And that's the question that I really wanted to get to. I was really hoping that I was going to answer that one, because really what I wanted to talk about was the Federal Reserve. People are not talking about the Federal Reserve and their actions enough, especially when it comes to their purchases of mortgage-backed securities. Now, that is something that I have said in the previous videos here just recently, that I feel that the Federal Reserve is going to be coming into a pinch point at some point here in the future, where they are going to have to make a decision on whether or not they are going to continue purchasing mortgage-backed securities or risk having a blow-off top in the housing market. And that is something that I just don't feel that enough people are talking about. So those were kind of the main questions for that discussion. Then they went down into a overrated or underrated kind of Q&A kind of thing. Real quick, I mean, not Q&A, just like real quick responses to some kind of hot topic issues out there. And the two that I was going to address was wood-boring beetles, climate risk, and wildfires. Now, is this an overrated is this an underrated or overhyped topic? And now, deep down inside, I know this is an underrated topic, right? You know that there's issues that come up both economically and environmentally from wildfires, beetles, the climate change that has taken place. Now, whether or not the overhyped media and science that's behind it is logical, that's a whole nother story. The fact that, these wildfires, the fact that the bugs came through, the fact that there was salvage, those are all real things that take place, and to deny it is like, that's unacceptable, So I think that it's an underrated topic, but it's way overhyped inside of the political polls of it. Sorry, it's getting really hot in here, guys, and I'm starting to sweat, but I tried to keep the windows rolled up so the noise stays down. I got a lot of traffic out in front of us today. The last question on this one was underrated or overhyped, the MDI resin shortage. And now this one to me was so underrated. Who knew that an ice storm ripping through the, Midwest or whatever, I forget exactly where this MDI resin is produced, but the amount of products that this MDI resin goes into is just intense, and it really shows the fragility of our supply chain when just a single storm can take out manufacturing of OSB to the level that it did. That should be a big eye-opener to people. So the MDI resin shortage, way, way underrated. All right, guys, I need to open the door and get a breath of fresh air. I hope you guys enjoyed that. That's really how I probably would have responded to him if I had just as much time as I needed to. And anyway, I guess I'll leave it at that. Uneducated Economist, you guys let me know.